Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to share my experience learning Mexican Spanish because I live in Mexico now. I've been living here for over 2 years now. And obviously I've saved a treasure trove of information in this time. My favorite YouTube channels, books, podcasts, and some interesting strategies. So let's begin with the first and most important strategy that has been helping me learn Mexican Spanish so much as a native Russian speaker. Starting with the alphabet and pronunciation. It is not a secret that every single language has its own unique pronunciation. And what works for me is focusing on pronunciation first, really making sure I know how to pronounce all the sounds correctly. Obviously, with time, with practice, I know that my accent will improve, but at the beginning, what I really want to work on is my pronunciation. I want to make sure that I can hear the difference between some difficult sounds, and I can also pronounce those difficult sounds distinctly well. At least that is the strategy I use with English, and you can hear right now I'm not a native English speaker, but I think my pronunciation and my accent are pretty good. So in Mexican Spanish, what causes a lot of issues among language learners are the sounds double L, double R, and also ch, if I'm not mistaken, CH. Because depending on the region, on the country, native speakers pronounce these sounds differently. So what I did was 3 years ago when I just started learning Spanish, I took a few classes on italki with a teacher to really understand the alphabet, the pronunciation of every single letter, and how I also have to pronounce all the letters and words. Obviously, in Spanish, it's a lot easier than in English. In English, there are a lot of rules, sounds change a lot. So that's why learning Mexican Spanish is definitely easier when it comes to pronunciation. And I also have to mention that your native language obviously will influence the way you're learning Spanish, like the way you can pronounce certain sounds, the way you can understand and distinguish between them. Because again, my native language is Russian, so I can roll my R's really well. Like I always could do that ever since I was a kid, because it's something that I was taught when I was a kid living in Russia. Because of that, I didn't have this problem that, for example, a lot of people from the United States experience. It's really hard to start rolling your R's when you have never done it before, so I completely understand that. The difficulty that I experienced at the very beginning was the single R sound in Spanish. I could say arriba really well from the very beginning, but when it came to pronouncing words like comer, to eat, I really struggle. And honestly, I still struggle sometimes because sometimes I really want to say comer, but I know that is not correct. And so basically what I'm trying to say here is every single one of us is going to experience their own difficulties, and that is absolutely okay. All it means is that we just have to work on the sound a lot more and practice the sound a lot more consistently. Okay, now let's move on and talk about my top 3 language learning strategies that I follow with any language I'm learning. And these are comprehensible input, active recall and spaced repetition, intrinsic motivation, and anchoring. These are the strategies that I always use no matter what language I'm learning. And for Mexican Spanish, it stays the same way. I already have a video on my channel where I go into more detail on every single strategy. So if you want to check out that video, if you want to learn about every single strategy more in depth, I will leave a link to the video somewhere up here. But to give you a quick summary, when it comes to every single strategy, when it comes to learning Mexican Spanish and comprehensible input, I use resources that are only slightly above my current level in Spanish. I think right now, depending on vocabulary or grammar or speaking fluency, my level in Spanish is B1, B2. Really depends on how I'm feeling, and that is totally okay. And so I always try to choose resources that are only slightly above my current level. My current level plus 1. The next strategy is active recall and spaced repetition, and I use Anki. I'm obsessed with this app. A lot of polyglots use this app to memorize words effectively, to practice active recall, and to really make sure words stick in your brain, that you can actually use those words when you speak and not just recognize them when you're reading a book or maybe watching a movie. And finally, I use intrinsic motivation and anchoring to stay disciplined, because if deep down I don't really want to learn Spanish, or it's not really connected to one of my values that I have, probably I'm going to quit. And because language learning is hard, I'm using anchoring. I'm using something that is going to make me come back to learning a foreign language. And of course, one thing that is super important to me when I learn Spanish and when I use it in Mexico is making sure that I stay connected with people who truly matter in my life. And this is where Holafly comes in. And I want to say a huge thank you to them for sponsoring a portion of this video. Holafly offers eSIMs that provide unlimited data in over 150 destinations worldwide. If you're planning a trip and worried about your connectivity options, Holafly will help you a lot. So how does it work? An eSIM is a digital SIM card that allows you to activate a mobile plan without needing a physical SIM card. And with Holafly's eSIMs, you can stay connected with ease. The benefits of using their eSIM are they provide unlimited data, so you don't need to worry about running out of data in the middle of your trip. It is so easy to activate their eSIM. Once you purchase it, you'll receive it instantly via email, making it quick and easy to set up. And their customer support works 24/7, so if you encounter any issues, their support team is available to help you via chat or WhatsApp. I remember when I first came to Mexico in 2022, I didn't know what internet provider to use, and I faced a lot of connectivity issues, and I still had to work and communicate with my family. If I had Holafly's eSIM, I could have avoided that stressful situation. And instead, I had to scramble to find Wi-Fi, which was far from ideal. With Holafly, you will be able to relax and fully enjoy your travels. So if you're planning a trip, I highly recommend checking out Holafly. You can purchase your eSIM through their app, available for both iOS and Android, and even manage your data right from your phone. And only for my viewers, you can get a great deal on your eSIM purchase by using my code Veronika's Language Diaries. So just click the link in my description to find out more. Okay, now let's start talking about my favorite resources that have helped me or are helping me right now learn Mexican Spanish. So the first group of resources I want to talk about is books. And a great resource that I recommend is Breaking Out of Beginner's Spanish. It's not a textbook, more like a book that is packed with cultural insights and Mexican expressions. I'm honestly reading this book right now. I'm probably halfway done, and even though I don't really consider myself a beginner when it comes to Spanish, I'm still learning so much from this book. I really like the way it's written. It's very easy to read, it's really funny, but also super educational because the author is sharing a lot of slang expressions and phrases, but at the same time, it has a lot of humor. So it's easy to read and you don't feel bored while reading it, which is very important. It has chapters like how to not be taken for a gringo. I read it on my Kindle every day before going to bed, and honestly, I'm enjoying it a lot. Okay, now let's talk about grammar. And I personally think that you will only need one grammar book and ChatGPT to explain you certain things, maybe something more complicated. So my book, my only trusted vieja confiable, is this Advanced Spanish Step by Step. And I really like this book. It has pretty much all the grammar rules I might need, and also it has exercises, some example sentences, so I can learn the basics here for sure. Obviously, you're probably wondering, this is not a very thick book and it claims to be advanced. I agree with you, maybe not, all the rules, not everything, but for me it's enough. I'm not learning Spanish to go to university in Mexico. I'm learning it for myself to be able to speak and communicate my thoughts clearly and effectively, because it doesn't make me feel overwhelmed. When you have like a stack of grammar books, you don't really know where to start. But for me, every single time I want to practice a specific grammar rule or just do some grammar drills, here I take this book, done. If you want to read some fiction in Mexican Spanish, I highly recommend this book, Cajas de Cartón. I really liked it. It is so thin. So this novel explores the struggles and challenges of a young Mexican-American boy and his family as they navigate life in California in the 1940s and 1950s. The story is set around the experiences of Francisco, a young boy from a migrant farm working family, and it focuses on themes such as poverty, hardship, identity, and the pursuit of the American dream. The reason why I like this novel is because it's written in a very simple yet poignant style, and obviously a lot of people in Mexico are familiar with it, so you can start a lot of nice conversations with native speakers just discussing this book. Okay, now let's talk about my favorite YouTube channels. First, I want to focus on a few educational channels, and the first one is Español con Ali. I really like this channel because Ali is from Mexico, so obviously she has a Mexican accent when she speaks Spanish. She uses all of the words that are popular in Mexico, and her videos are very informal, fun. You're learning a lot of useful vocabulary that people use every single day. 3 other educational channels that are not in particular in Mexican Spanish are Spanishland School, Hola Spanish, and Easy Spanish. On Easy Spanish, they have videos that are filmed in Mexico where they pretty much go around and ask locals different questions. And so obviously all the locals are speaking Mexican Spanish, and I think they focus on making videos in Mexico City, so you will also hear a lot of slang that is common in Mexico City. 2 other YouTube channels that I really like that are not really educational but more for native speakers of Spanish, like vlogs, travel videos, are Shannon Lehman's YouTube channel. She is Mexican. I believe she was born in Cancun and then she moved to Mexico City, so she makes vlogs about her life in Mexico City, and she's also married to a Korean guy, and his Spanish is immaculate, amazing, freaking insane. And so you can also watch his videos because he's a YouTuber too, and basically listen to him speak Spanish, get motivated, and then listen to her talk about their life in Mexico City. And of course, I am a huge fan of Luisito Comunica. He's from Mexico. I really like his travel videos. You've probably seen his videos before because he's extremely popular in Latin America, and if you like all around the world, because his videos get a lot of views. But I always approach his videos from an educational perspective, and I pause if I don't know a specific word. I save it to Anki. Like, I really try to make sure that I understand everything he's talking about. Okay, now let's move on to podcasts that are going to help you learn Mexican Spanish. The first one that I listen to almost every single day right now is No Hay Dos, Real Mexican Spanish. I really like their banter, the way they talk, the topics they discuss, the slang they use. Love this podcast. The next one is Hoy Hablamos. Really like this one too. Then I have here Suave Spanish. I actually made a video with Nate, one of the co-hosts of this podcast, on my YouTube channel. So if you want to see our conversation, I will leave a link somewhere right here and you can check it out later. Then the other one that I really like is called Mexican Fluency Podcast. I like that they post a lot of short episodes where they discuss maybe some phrases or grammar points. So even if I don't have a lot of time, I can still play this podcast and it's gonna last 10-15 minutes. And finally, there's one that is not just in Mexican Spanish. Like, sometimes they make videos about some slang in Mexico, some Mexican expressions, but sometimes the hosts of the show have a different accent when they speak Spanish. Is Charlas Hispanas. Honestly, one of the important paths towards fluency we have to take is understanding different accents in Spanish, right? Not just people in Mexico, but maybe people in Spain, people in Argentina and Colombia. Now let's talk about Netflix shows, and 2 that I'm currently watching to learn Mexican Spanish are La Casa de las Flores. I really like this one. It's basically a dark comedy TV show. It revolves around a family who runs a successful flower shop called La Casa de las Flores, the House of Flowers. And on the surface, everything appears amazing. They have everything. Well, wealth, status, a beautiful home. But beneath all of this glamour, there are some secrets, some very dark ones. I really like the show. I'm actively watching it right now, so highly, highly recommend if you want to practice your Mexican Spanish. And another show that I watch on and off is Club de Cuervos. This show is about sports. It obviously combines some drama, humor, and it offers a satirical look at the Mexican society, in particular the world of football or soccer. And obviously people in Mexico really like soccer. And finally, let's finish this video by talking about my favorite apps, my favorite application to learn Mexican Spanish. And here I want to mention italki, LifeXP, and Lingoda for lessons with teachers. These platforms work a little bit differently. I would say Lingoda is really famous for group classes, and sometimes I really miss being in a group, you know? Obviously having one-on-one classes is amazing, but sometimes you really want to interact with other students who are also learning Spanish to not feel like you're the only one. And so that's why I love using Lingoda for my group classes. And italki and LifeXP, I use them for my personalized one-on-one lessons. And when it comes to memorizing vocabulary, grammar, literally anything I want to memorize when it comes to Spanish, I always use Anki because I love creating flashcards. I love practicing active recall because this is exactly how I'm memorizing everything in the most effective way. Okay guys, I think it's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have other resources that you absolutely love to learn Mexican Spanish, please share them in the comments. I'm sure other people will appreciate it, and I will appreciate it a lot because I'm still a student of Español. Just a reminder, if you don't want to have any connectivity issues when you travel abroad, I highly recommend Holafly. You can use my discount code in the description to get 5% off. In today's video, I mainly focused on my favorite resources to learn Mexican Spanish, but if you want to see my ultimate guide to learn Spanish from zero to fluency, all the tips, all the resources, all the methods, you can check out this video right here. Just click right here and keep on watching.